The Valley of the Kings, the greatest treasure trove known to man. For thousands of years, its story has been locked up in the barren desert rock of Egypt. Until now. Using groundbreaking computer graphics, we can plunge beneath the valley's surface. We'll explore the valley in a way that's never been seen before, unlocking the secret story of the royal tombs.
The Valley of the Kings is where the great ones of Egypt were buried. It's where Seti I, Ramses the Great, Thutmose III, that's where all the big boys are.
But it's not just a story of the pharaohs. It's also the story of the craftsmen who built the tombs. A story of death and robbery, destruction and rediscovery.
It is really a world of mystery, it's a world of treasure, and just the feeling of it is extraordinary.
Three and a half thousand years after its creation, the valley tells its unique story. Egypt, November 1st, 1922. Workmen are excavating in the Valley of the Kings. But little do they know that 30 feet beneath them lies more gold than they could ever imagine. Cut into solid limestone is the tomb of an ancient pharaoh. Its rooms are piled high with treasure. Deep inside the burial chamber lies the body of the dead pharaoh himself, Tutankhamun. His tomb is hard evidence that 3,500 years ago, this dust bowl in the desert was filled with the most valuable treasures on Earth.
These are some of the most barren cliffs anywhere in the western desert, but beneath them are some of the most exciting archaeological treasures to be found anywhere. I mean, just look in this one area. The tomb of Amenhotep II, the tomb of Horemheb, the tomb of Ramses III. Over here we have Ramses VI, and of course, right in the middle, the tomb of Tutankhamun. 62 tombs in the Valley of the Kings, almost every one of which containing not treasures necessarily, but treasures of information.
Hundreds of feet beneath its surface, the valley is riddled with tombs. Most were once home to pharaohs much more important than Tutankhamun.
Everybody knows about the treasures in Tutankhamun's tomb, the gold mask and the jewelry. He was a minor pharaoh. Imagine what was in a tomb of somebody like Seti I, a really big tomb. That's real treasure. It would have been 10 times what Tutankhamun had.
But for all its amazing treasures, a tomb served just one purpose: to ensure the dead pharaoh could make it to the afterlife successfully.
The purpose was not to entertain. This is not an art museum. This is a very serious structure designed to ensure that the deceased pharaoh can move from this life safely into the next and take his place with the gods.
He goes in dead, mummified, in his coffin with his gold mask, and by a process of magic, he will become alive again. And it is in the tomb, helped by all the spells, by the incantations and the prayers, that this extraordinary event will take place.
The tomb was almost more important than the palace. You lived in a palace for your lifetime, but the tomb was forever. That's why they put so much of the economy into tomb building. I mean, these were expensive things, but it was the most important investment you could make. It was for eternity.
The Valley of the Kings lay at the very heart of ancient Egypt, on the west bank of the Nile. Only 3 miles away on the east bank lay the city of Thebes. This was the capital of Egypt during its golden age and home to the royal court. All the wealth needed to build the tombs in the valley was concentrated in Thebes.
It was the center of the known world. Immensely sophisticated, immensely rich.
The amount of wealth in this city alone was probably as great as the rest of Egypt combined.
But in 1279 BC, the city was stricken with grief. Egypt's pharaoh, Seti I, has just died. He had been one of the most dynamic and successful rulers the country had ever known. Now his mummification can begin.
The reason they mummified the body is that they believed in resurrection. They believed the pharaoh was literally going to get up and go again in the next world, so you had to preserve the body. He would need it.
According to ancient texts, the mummification had to take exactly 70 days. It was a complicated and messy process.
The key to mummification was dehydrating the body. Get rid of moisture, and the body will be preserved. So one of the things they had to do was remove the internal organs, because they're very moist. And they did that with a knife made of volcanic glass, because that's as sharp as any surgeon's scalpel.
But as they carefully prepared the king for the afterlife, the royal mummifiers would have had no idea what turbulent times lay ahead for their dead pharaoh. The Valley of the Kings served as the royal burial ground for 500 years. Its location had been carefully chosen. It was completely shielded from ordinary Egyptians.
The general population would never have seen these tombs. They'd simply have known that somewhere beyond the horizon, behind the cliffs, were the wonderful burials of all the kings of this generation.
The tombs may have been inaccessible, but with the eternal life of the pharaohs at stake, no chances could be taken. The Valley of the Kings was given the tightest security possible. Stationed in the hills above the burial ground was an elite force of necropolis guards. The shape of the valley made it easier to keep an eye on all the tombs.
It's surrounded by very steep cliffs, which means that if you put guard huts along the tops of those cliffs, you have an unobstructed view of the valley. Put 5 policemen in each of these guard huts around the perimeter, and you've got a 24-hour-a-day sentinel that can detect any movement within the valley.
The necropolis guards could spend days at a time camped out on the cliffs protecting the valley from intruders.
If the police caught you and you weren't supposed to be there, you took your life into your own hands. And once they discovered what you were doing there, well, I wouldn't like to be in their place.
But one band of men could pass the necropolis guards unchallenged. They lived in an isolated village just over the hill from the Valley of the Kings. These were the pharaoh's most trusted subjects, the men who actually built the royal tombs. Just outside the Valley of the Kings lay the village of Deir el-Medina. This was home to the men who built the royal tombs.